Alright, today we're looking at a bunch of different items that have come from multiple different estate auctions and estate sales recently. The first thing was these couple of what would be some pilot survival items. We've got the signal mirror. It's got a contract date of 1972. Still got the original box and packaging. Here we got also from 1972. This would be a pilot, air crew. It was also used by some different ones that were not pilots, just for distress signaling. And this one here is the M186, which meant that it has 7 different basically little flares for signaling, but the M185 just has all red flares, and this one has some white ones, some green ones, and red, white, and green. So that's also got a couple of different dates on there. It's all from 1972, and just like the signal mirror, it's all still sealed up. So both of those would be kind of like some late Vietnam items. This next group of items that came from a different sale, there were a couple of these for, this one's for joint service commendation, and this one here is for a Bronze Star. They're both named to the same gentleman, and it was just an auction that had a variety of different items that had been consigned, and couldn't find really much information on the gentleman that these are named to. But when I looked at the photos, they, as usual, these auctions just don't take very good photos sometimes, and you can use that to your advantage, and sometimes it works against you. But this one, in one of the photos, you could see part of where they were talking about what this gentleman was doing in Vietnam. And we see it says, Officer in Charge, Special Projects, Photo Analysis Branch, Intelligence Division, Studies and Observations Group, Headquarters, United States, Military Assistance Command, Vietnam. So the Studies and Observations Group, also known as MACV-SOG. So this gentleman here was a military intelligence officer who in some way was working with MACV-SOG units for photo analysis, I guess, and for probably taking the photos, examining them, figuring out where they send those guys for the missions. So anytime you can find stuff that's related to the MACV-SOG units, it's always very interesting. Like I said, I couldn't find much in the way of further information on this gentleman to see what else he might have been involved with in his career, how long he stayed in the Army. But certainly interesting, a Bronze Star and a Joint Service Commendation Medal. This was in the same auction. I don't know if it was from the estate of that same gentleman, but when I saw it, I thought, well, these look like this insignia up here, and the two people in the photo look kind of like a Thai royal family. And I saw it had a signature on there at the bottom. Couldn't see the date in the photo, but you can see the date is 1988. And I believe these two are part of the Thai royal family, but I'm not sure who they are. I was kind of hoping that it would have if it had a date on there, that it would be something more of a Vietnam era. Because I thought, well, maybe if this military intelligence gentleman had been in Thailand also, maybe this was something he'd received. But obviously 1988 is well past the Vietnam War. But on the back has this little tag for this foundation in Thailand, and I looked that up, and that was actually a foundation that was started by the Thai royal family in 1975. 1975 basically when Saigon fell. It's when the Vietnam War ended. And I think sometimes people have the misconception when they think about Vietnam War of just being Vietnam, but it really was a conflict that encompassed all of Southeast Asia. The number of Air Force units that were stationed in Thailand, and then also the impact it had on countries like Laos and Cambodia. So certainly a wide-reaching war. But anyway, certainly, hopefully I'll find out at some point who these two are or who the signature is. I know some of the, if you find things that were signed by, the king or queen, those are very, can be very valuable. I don't think that's who these two are, but it's certainly an interesting piece, and certainly with the history of the royal family starting this foundation to try and help people in Thailand who were impacted by the war. So, like I said, that was an interesting find. And this third one here was another online estate auction, and they had this whole big box full of hats, and most of these hats were more of things like you've got airborne infantry, and you've got Combat Infantrymen Association, 11th Air Assault, and so there was just a big box full of these hats. Most of these were things that this gentleman might have worn to reunions or just day to day. We see the jumping Mustangs here in Vietnam from 65 to 71, and they were part of the first Cavalry, part of the 8th Cavalry, which is part of that. So anyways, not something real from a collector's standpoint, just certainly pretty common items, as I said, just things that he would have worn. But in the photos, just like I said before, sometimes auctions don't take the greatest photos. So there was a photo where you could see, in addition to all these hats, you could see, I'll get it out of here, you could see this tiger stripe Boonie hat, but you could just see just the edge of it, barely. And I didn't really have much information on who this gentleman was at the time. And there was a business card stuck in one of the hats, and a lot of these hats had his name in them. When I looked him up, this gentleman was a lieutenant colonel, and he had served 3 tours in Vietnam. He was a Ranger qualified, Airborne qualified. He was awarded the Silver Star in 1966, and he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross in 1968. And he spent 4 years as part of the U.S. Army's Golden Knights parachute team. So certainly a very gentleman who certainly spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia. And this Boonie hat here, certainly I think, having the history of his time in Vietnam, I think certainly adds to the collectability, to the interest of it. I sometimes find the history of these items is almost more interesting than the item itself. Now, one thing on this tiger stripe Boonie hat, we see it's got this little tag on it for a size, for a medium, and I'd heard before that these little tags were something that were put on things over in Okinawa. Now, there's also people that say nothing was actually manufactured in Okinawa as far as tiger stripe. It was things that the material was brought in from Japan, and they just did the sewing in Okinawa. So I'm not quite sure which of those is quite correct, and I'm not sure if this little tag like that, I've seen it on a few different things. I've seen it on some tiger stripe swim shorts. I've seen it on a couple of different Boonie hats like this that were different patterns, but it's certainly something interesting. So like I said, on this time it paid off, even though couldn't really see this in most of the photos. And I think the history of this gentleman, as I said, being a Silver Star recipient, and I don't know, these couple of berets were also in there. I know this is for the British Parachute Regiment, and we see it's got a date there of 1960 on that beret. And this beret, I'm not sure what this flash is, but 1956 on that one. Maybe these were something that this gentleman traded for at some point in his career. But that's going to about wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this wide variety of items. This kind of shows you the things that you can find in estate sales and estate auctions, and some of the history on the previous owners of these items. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, hope you will like and subscribe. There's close to 50 other videos I've posted up of different items, videos similar to this, showing a variety of items from estate sales and estate auctions. And if you like and subscribe, you'll know when future videos are uploaded. And as always, I appreciate you watching. Thanks.